Hi, welcome to Team Wealth Builders. I'm John Fitzgerald. Well, an amazing time at the moment. And when I say amazing, look at the signs around. Even the Reserve Bank say it's just amazing to see we can't predict what's going on in the future. And that's why they're pretty much at a hold and see position. When I say amazing, I'm talking about, though, how real estate's bubbling, their auction clearance rates, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne. And the last weekend of March was probably the best testimony of that, where $900 million of property in Sydney and Melbourne was sold at auction on one day. Now, that is enormous. And in Melbourne, it was the fifth largest day ever. Auction clearance rates of 68% and 70% in Melbourne and Sydney. Now, once, as I've said before, once you get over 60%, you know you've got some price rising. But also, or price escalation, I should say, but also, if I go back to this time last year, and this is probably the best template we can use, the total value of real estate sold at auction on that typical weekend or same weekend was $525 million. This weekend was $900 million, up 71%. Now, if you think there's not a boom going on, you're living in a cave, because I can tell you that is absolutely enormous. And this isn't just the only weekend and the first weekend. This has been going on now pretty much since December 2012. Low interest rates are driving it, yes, but also the stock market bubbling along, best January, February in 30 years. And also I want to give you one other stat, which is just mind-blowing. In February, Australia created 71,500 new jobs. 71,500. Now, that's full-time, part-time, yes, but that is a 12-year plus record. We haven't done that for well over 12 years. So you see some amazing records being set and amazing things happening. What I'm focused on and what I'm really comforted by is the fact that it's Sydney and Melbourne that's having the growth and the boom. And those 71,500 jobs, 36,000 were in Victoria and 22,000 were in New South Wales. And why that's pertinent is because for Australia to boom, we need those two markets to be booming. And if I go back through the cycles over the last 4 or 5 decades, etc., it's always led by Sydney. And now Sydney is absolutely on fire. Custodian property, we just can't get enough of it. It's pretty much reserved only for existing clients with properties in other states. But to my mind, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you get into this market while the median, or we're buying below the median and being cash flow positive. Where are interest rates going to go? Well, that's an interesting tale. Westpac broke ranks and put their fixed rate up to 5.19%, while the other banks stayed at 4.99. But also interestingly, St George, which is owned by Westpac, reduced their variable rate. So they were at a step with the Reserve on those two things. What do I think about all of that? To be honest, I look at what's happening in Europe with Cyprus, etc., etc. The Reserve Bank, my view, and they've even flagged it, they're going to keep things on hold for a period of time and see what transpires. Remembering at the end of the year, their concern is that mining's going to come off. The construction phase of the mining boom is going to come off a little bit. And what they want to drive, and they've been emphatic in saying this, we want to drive the construction business, housing starts in Australia. Now, that's something to really focus on, because that's our business in a lot of ways. Our housing starts in Australia today around about 130,000. They need to be driven to about 190,000 just to keep up with population growth. And we've got the strongest population growth we've just about ever seen in history. And that's obviously off the back of the fact that 71,500 jobs created just in the month of February. Now, let me put that into context and finish on this note. The biggest job creation year we ever had was 2010, where in that year we created a total of 300,000 jobs. And here we are, 1 month in February 2013, we've created 71,500 jobs. These are amazing times. On the back of that, you've got real estate, an activity around real estate that is 71% higher than what we saw last year. You've got some real activity. At the same time, we've got the lowest interest rates in 50 years. An amazing time. Thanks for listening to me.